All right, today we're going to talk about if you leave your ex alone, will they miss you? And if you stick around until the very end of this video, not only are we going to be talking about leaving your ex alone and if that makes them miss you, but we're also going to be tying it to long distance relationships. In other words, we have maybe found a link between long distance relationships and if leaving an ex alone will miss you. So stick around until the end of this video to see that. But before we begin, the first thing that I think you should do if you come onto my YouTube channel is click that subscribe button below. So, if you leave your ex alone, will it make them miss you? Well, here's the answer. Scientifically, your ex is hardwired to miss you. However, missing you won't make them commit to you. And this is an important distinction to understand. Yes, we have found so many scientific links between leaving an ex alone and them suddenly missing you that it's impossible to deny there's a connection. Your ex is hardwired to miss you or long after you after a breakup. But the big mistake I think most people make is expecting an ex who misses you to commit to you. Think of it like a stepping stone. If you want an ex to commit to you after a breakup, if you want an ex to basically ask for you back, and you think, okay, all I gotta do is make them miss me, that will be enough, you're in for a rude awakening. Getting them to miss you is one large step, admittedly, towards getting them to commit to you, but there's more that you have to do. And at the end of this video, not only am I going to show you what you can do to improve your chances of having that happen to you, but I'm going to give you a few important next steps. But let's dive into the psychology of why I believe leaving your ex alone will make them miss you. So a few weeks ago, I did this video on my YouTube channel where I talked about avoidant exes and what it takes to make an avoidant ex to miss you. Now, the reason I did that video was twofold purpose. Number one is I wanted to actually know for myself, so I went really deep into YouTube and psychology articles and found information that blew my mind. And number two was it was one of the most asked questions that we got related to making exes miss you. And what we learned by understanding how an avoidant ex operates can be game-changing for helping you understand why leaving your ex alone is a very good idea at first. In order to kind of understand what I'm about to say, you need to have a working understanding of attachment styles. Now, there are 4 different attachment styles. You have secure attachment, avoidant attachment, anxious attachment, and fearful attachment. Now, you fit into one of those categories probably a little bit more than the other categories, and that would be your primary attachment style. There is only one secure attachment, and there are 3 types of insecure attachment styles. So the goal always for you to work towards being a more secure attachment style in your dating life. Then there's the anxious people, and the avoidant people, and the fearful people. And those people tend to operate with a little bit of a different assumption when it comes to missing their exes. Hey there, real quick, I want to say that if you're new to this YouTube channel or you're trying to figure out what you should be doing to get your ex back and you're trying to learn if you even have a chance in your specific circumstance, probably the smartest thing for you to do is actually stop by our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, or take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz that can be found at exboyfriendrecovery.com. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, taking that free quiz is super easy to do. All you have to simply do is look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on the link you see there. It will take you directly to the quiz where you can fill it out and get an easy answer on what you should be doing going forward and overall what your chances look like in your specific situation. All right, so let's get you back to the video. So avoidant exes are basically what they sound like. They're people who avoid confrontation or avoid kind of feelings. Anxious attachment styles are really anxious, meaning they're the type of people that will jump on and try to fix everything in an overly pushy way. Fearful attachment style is basically a combination of the two, and that's the worst one to kind of have or deal with. What we're looking at is the avoidant attachment style. All right, so people with an avoidant attachment style want a connection like everyone else, but their deepest fear is that love and closeness comes at the cost of freedom. Avoidants are free to long for an ex once that person is unavailable, out of the relationship, and typically out of contact. In other words, if you quote unquote move on or look like you're moving on, that's when your ex may feel comfortable enough to begin romanticizing some of the precipice points of your relationship. So already we know for a fact that leaving your ex alone, in this context at least, is a really good idea. It can help improve the odds of making them miss you. So let's move on to another interesting thing for you to consider, and that's the grass is greener syndrome and how it relates to moving on. So what is the grass is greener syndrome? Simply put, the grass is greener syndrome is a situation where your ex breaks up with you because they think they can do better than you. The grass is greener on the other side. And what's interesting is a lot of my clients come to me and sit there and say, Chris, I really don't want him moving on. I don't want him being with a new person and comparing that new person to me, but I tell them, yes, you do. If you think about it, at its core, a breakup is nothing more than one person saying, I can do better than you. And really, regret is a key component to making them want to come back to you. If you want an ex to miss you, one of the smartest things you could do is, instead of trying to stop that and hold them back, let them do it. Now, this is a risky thing, I'm not gonna lie, but usually what happens is after the honeymoon period wears off with that new individual, they begin comparing what the high points of that new relationship felt like with the high points of your relationship. And if that new person is found wanting, if they look at that new person and say, you know, this isn't as good as I felt before, guess what happens? Well, they start to romanticize you and they start to miss you, and it causes friction in the new relationship, and then they want to come back to you. So here we go again. Another indicator that leaving your ex alone, even in these really difficult, fearful situations for you, is a good idea. And now we get to the big daddy finding that I've been waiting to talk about for ages, and that's how long distance relationships can make a big difference in helping you understand why exes miss you. So according to a new study published by the Journal of Communication, couples in long-distance relationships have more meaningful interactions than those who see each other on a daily basis, leading to higher levels of intimacy. So what does this mean? A few videos ago, I recorded this video where I was talking about the importance of silence and how silence, one of the main components of silence, and I guess letting go or just sort of like leaving your ex alone, is a form of silence. I'm making a stretch there, but bear with me here. Silence creates unpredictability, and unpredictability breaks up patterns and makes things more interesting. That's essentially what we find is happening in long distance relationships. So not only are communications a little bit more sporadic, but in-person interactions are a little bit more sporadic, and that puts a higher premium on them. They're focusing a lot more on making sure the types of conversations that they're having are really, really meaningful, as opposed to people who see each other every day and things grow a little stale. So what does this tell us about leaving your ex alone? Well, one of the primary issues I'm betting you had in your relationship was the pattern. You basically got into the routine and things became complacent, and your ex maybe even said, you know, I wish you were more spontaneous, or I wish you were more adventurous, or I wish we were able to do something more exciting. So they leave you and they look for that in another person. But what's interesting is, with the benefit of time, with the benefit of you leaving them alone and not pestering them and trying to win them back right away, they begin to look back on your relationship with a little bit sort of a nicer view. And when you do get back in contact with them, if you're able to limit yourself where you're not going crazy, they'll put a higher premium on the kind of communication that you may have together. And if you really, really think about it, the key starting point in almost every get your ex back or get over your ex strategy starts with the no contact rule, a self-imposed way for us to say to you, leave that person alone. Leave them alone. That will make them want to come back to you, but that will be the first step for them wanting to come back to you. The no contact rule or leaving your ex alone won't be enough to do that just by itself. For that, you need to come up with a better strategy. Now, this is why we've created the value chain and the value ladder, two core concepts within the ex-boyfriend recovery program and ex-girlfriend recovery program that we're often pushing, because we find that's the most important way to rebuild value so that your ex wants to recommit to you. We've already have those self-imposed guidelines set throughout the whole strategy with regards to the no contact rule, where you're leaving your ex alone for that certain period of time, where we have tested and found anywhere between 21 to 45 days seems to be that sweet spot when your ex is going to sort of calm down and begin to look with a clearer view with regards to your relationship. Meaning hey, I'm beginning to kind of miss them. And if you don't believe this happens, go watch my video on the stages an ex goes through during the no contact rule. You can see the stages when you leave your ex alone that they're going through, and really understand there's a roller coaster of emotions that they're experiencing, and you can understand this is why your ex misses you. Don't just think leaving them alone or sort of letting them go for a little bit will be enough to make them want to come back entirely. For that, you need to do research on our website about the value chain and the value ladder. Now, speaking of our website, I put together a special quiz that's designed to help you understand what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back. And I'm making this quiz free and available to you right here, right now. And all you have to do if you want to take this quiz, and I talked about it at the beginning of this video, or rather I think it was the middle of this video, wherever it was in this video, all you have to do if you're interested in taking this quiz is simply look in the description link below this YouTube video and click the link you see there. It will take you directly to the quiz where you can get an answer on what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back and know whether or not it's a good idea for you and your specific situation. Also, if you haven't liked, commented, or subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do so. It really does help us. I'll see you next time.